Hey,
There we are. We're live.
hey, Simon.
Hello, CJ Bernstein.
I'm just
As I
waiting.
like to call you Siege.
Siege. I don't know. I'm just waiting for it to start on YouTube so everyone can. Oh, there you are.
Oh. Are you watching
So if
yourself
you
on
have it
YouTube?
on YouTube, you have to turn it down. It's on a delay, and it will drive you mad.
Okay.
Okay. Hey there.
Hi. I'm just now going onto YouTube to see how do I find it on YouTube. This is fascinating for everybody, I'm sure.
If you go down to the bottom right corner, you'll see where it says links, and we'll give it. Oh, Tristan's here.
Hi, Tristan.
Hi, Tristan. I almost typed "Hi, Tristan," but you're watching me.
Okay, I can't see on YouTube, so you'll just have to when there are comments, you'll have to read them to me.
It's best you keep focused. Okay. So this is my friend and one of my partners in crime at Ackerley Green Publishing. This is Simon Arrowsmith. Say hi to all the viewers, Simon.
Hi, all the viewers, Simon.
So
it's very late here. By late, I mean it's 8 o'clock in the evening, which really isn't that late, is it? But
no. Simon is sort of my partner in crime, creative director, and helps me sort of manifest the vision of Ackerley Green Publishing and bring all of my wacky stories into fruition in all sorts of different ways. Hi, Kelsey. How are you? So today I'm going to take a pause and say we were going to walk through the audio elements piece by piece, but we're having some audio difficulties. So we'll just pantomime. We'll just act out the performance. So we'll just sort of give a brief overview of how this all came to be, and then break down some of the elements.
Yeah.
So, Simon, would you like to start by saying a little about yourself? About
I just want you to know, everybody, this is generally how our weekly / daily is going. We're not getting anything done. No. So who am I? Yes, I'm Ackerley Green's creative director. I have been involved with the project for, I was thinking about today, it's almost a year and a half since we first talked about it.
Yeah.
In October of 2015.
When I said, please help me.
You said, please help me. And then I opened my mouth and I'm sorry, the rest is history.
Right.
But it's been such a fantastic journey and so wonderful to be involved. So I kind of have 2 jobs currently, have eventually to be 1 job, which will be the creative director of Ackerley Green. But at the moment, I'm also run an agency that helps people with their storytelling. And part of that is running a theatre company. So I deal in stories. I deal on the street with dark corners for a story, 50 quid. But also have a deep interest in writing music, and I'm a composer as well as a sort of sound designer, shall we say. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm listening riveted, but I'm also trying to.
This is all new information to me.
Oh, tell me more. I'm trying to figure out. It was doing that fun thing where the video would automatically choose who was talking, and it's not doing that right now.
Oh,
so I might have to manually do it. That's okay. Oh my God, this whole thing's gone to hell.
So in other words, they can just hear me, they can't see me.
No, they can mostly see you. I was staring at you.
You're so lucky, everybody.
Hold on, I'm just Googling something while everyone watches.
Shall I just
continue?
Yeah. So as I said, I've been involved since October 2015. We were Johnny, my partner, who's the other partner in crime in Ackerley Green. We were originally just going to come on board and help Mr. Bernstein with kind of his brand and his brand story and getting his message out there. And then between the 3 of us, we cooked up this madcap idea that why don't we try and play online for a bit before something happens later in the year. I know everyone knows that there's stuff coming later in the year, don't we? That's not
Yeah.
a massive surprise. That's the other thing, because I was watching your broadcast last time, and you attempted to give away surprises. I'll just do it by mistake. It'll just happen. I'm surprised there's not a file open here that says phase 3, all the secrets.
Yeah. So I'm going to now walk you through phase 3.
In fact, if I can share my screen for a second, I'll show you what I had to do in order to make sure that I didn't ruin everything on my desktop. Oh, look. that was close. On my desktop, there's a thing that says secret files, because there's just because they are all the files from that I don't want people to see during this podcast.
Yeah, good. I had garbage back here I had to throw away that I didn't want people to see. So here's the thing. So let's get into this. I'm going to preface by saying in phase 2, what we wanted to do is have a more narrative thrust to the story. We found some things that players enjoyed, like the live events from Fragment 4, and we liked how people immediately connected to a lot of the characters, and we wanted to find a way to do that more in phase 2. And we knew that we wanted to do something big for phase 2 at the end, but it was something that was bigger than our capability to do live. And so Simon had the idea about doing it audially.
As audio.
As audio. Okay, sure. So we had that in the back of our minds. And what's funny about that is that we spent a lot of time saying, yes, that's what we were going to do, and not a lot of time thinking about it or imagining it or figuring out what it was going to be or how it was going to happen or what. And so it wasn't until we had the Ackerley Green Summit, which is Johnny and Simon came to the States, and we went up to my house in the country, and we spent, 4 days there?
Yeah, 4 days.
Hashing out sort of the next 3 months, the next year, the next 5 years, figuring out all of our roles in the company. And then on I think the second to last day, we said, we should...
there's something that's happening right now.
There's something that we need to do in 2 weeks, and we need to start thinking about it. And so that was the day we sat around my kitchen counter and worked out the spell, the rough bones of the spell, and then batted that back and forth for a couple of weeks and came up with it. But I talked about this in the Google Hangout last week, where there's only so much we knew because we had a few different plans for Lauren and Cagliostro. Do you remember them?
That's a good question. Do I remember? so much has happened since then. Do I remember them? I remember that there was a scenario where she was going to be sacrificed and die, and he was going to ascend through an ascension device. Remember that? But we... that was the
correct answer.
I was thinking, should I just make something up? Because I really can't think of another one. I'm pretty sure that was it.
Yeah, no, that was the correct answer.
Okay,
But do you remember and I talked about this again last week, the turning point was when we had Cagliostro tell a little more about his backstory. People immediately became really sympathetic to him, and making him just a straight up villain who was deceiving his apprentice all along seemed a lot less interesting than the road that the players wanted to go down. So luckily we hadn't planned anything, because we had to change it all.
The success of it all depends on us not being very timely with our delivery.
Very often. We say a lot of times at Ackerley Green that we are putting the plane together as it is taking off.
Yeah.
And that's what we did with this. So we worked out the spell, and then we started talking about what was going to happen if he wasn't going to sacrifice Lauren. And this idea came up about it being a sort of sacrificial altar, an ancient Egyptian sacrificial altar. Simon knows this, and you guys will now know this, is that we have a lot of detail a lot of times, not always, for things. And we purposefully keep it vague because it gives you guys the opportunity to come up with cooler things. And so that's why we kept the mystery of what the tetrahedron was. We were pretty confident about what it would be. Can you hear me? I'm basically lying down.
No, I can hear you from your reclining.
So we thought we knew what it was, but luckily we kept it vague enough that we could then pursue this more interesting avenue. And this is where Simon, I think, how long did it take you to put this rough draft of this audio performance together?
I think the original, it probably took me a day to get it. I do actually move really fast once I've got which I know for what, a 6-minute clip, that seems a lot, but once you start playing with things, it should take a long time. But that, I think, it's about a day to get it into a reasonable shape. We had to write the script and bounce the ideas back and forth between us. And then once you'd written the portions of the script for Lauren, we had to get an actor to play that part. As we know that the Cagliostro, we'd set him up as British, and I think that British with a T. We'd said that from the beginning. You'd said, "Oh, I am done with doing all the voices, Mr. Arrowsmith. The Cagliostro will be British, and you will be doing any voices. You will be doing." Okay, that's fair enough. So we kind of knew that he was going to be, that I was going to voice him, which is interesting because I'm not an actor, but I think I do.
Or British.
Hell no. This is all a set. Yeah, this is not really, not 8 o'clock in England at all. Just shut the blinds to make it look dark outside.
Yep.
So we knew that. So we needed someone to play Lauren, because I just thought, this is a bit of a reveal now. This is a top secret. A lot of the voices that you hear or have heard to date have been performed by either myself or Mr. CJB over here.
Mm-hmm.
Manipulated the sound to make them sound different. But we just knew that, and we'll talk a little bit more about who that is and what that is. But we knew that actually we couldn't do that convincingly for Lauren, so we knew we had to get an actor to perform that part. So how you got in touch with that?
I did, yeah. She's a voiceover actress, and she was born in the States, lived the first 15 years of her life here, but then moved to the UK, and so she will be useful to us in the future.
I didn't know that she was based here.
Yeah, so she does a few dialects, and it's interesting. We had to go back a couple of times because I sent her the script once it was finished, and she immediately turned back the Lauren dialogue, and it was all very polished because she's primarily a voiceover actress, and we had to sort of discuss the circumstances mentally, where she was, what she'd been through, all of the stuff that you guys had experienced in December and January. Had to sort of get her there, and then she redid all the audio, and then with you tweaking some things and adding that effect, I think it turned out well. And
yeah, it was interesting where to place her. So there's certain bits where her performance was too forward. So she's talking like this, and very, 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 that's very good if you're, as you said, a voiceover actress. But what that does give us is it gives us something to play with. So I can place her back here in my mix, and it sounds like she's actually a distance. So there's a bit near the beginning where she says to Cag, "Are you sure?" And originally that was quite loud. So I put that right back, and I put a little bit of reverb behind it, so to give it that sort of hollow sound. And then all the way through, there's a lot of stuff where she's sort of masked, and then we have the kind of haunting sounds, we call them, which is her voice distorts when she inherits the kind of Cagliostro, or gets kind of almost infected. But interestingly, the last phrase, "I am the Cagliostro," we couldn't get it redone, and so that actually is me.
Yeah,
that's me putting on the as feminine a voice as I could do, but then manipulating the sound.
Yeah. Oh, and that was another an interesting tidbit about that moment, is that we had 2 takes. One where she said she was the Cagliostro, and one where she said, in keeping in proper Italian language, she was the Cagliostra. as an alternate. And then we went back and forth a few times, but we sort of landed on the idea of like the Cagliostro is the Cagliostro.
Yeah,
And
because let's be honest, when Doctor Who becomes a woman soon, she's not going to become Mrs. Who, is she? She's
Dr. Hua.
She's going to be Doctor Who.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it makes sense that it's a title. And that's interesting, because I think that was a change while we're on the subject of Cagliostro, that the idea of an inherited title rather than, did we originally conceive it as a society? I can't remember.
Yes.
We talked about that at one point.
I think in the brainstorming, I had thought that the Cagliostro would have been some sort of a secret society that was a conglomeration of magicians and illusionists and people interested in the things that Cagliostro did. But it became not only time, effort, energy, but narratively it made more sense. And I thought it was more interesting for this guy to, instead of being, it's less Slayer where there's a Cagliostro in every generation. It's, no, this guy has been the Cagliostro for quite some time.
Yeah.
Thought it was cooler.
Yeah, so we got Lauren's lines, and then you recorded.
Oh yeah, CJ Bernstein and Martin Rank, voice of Martin Rank.
So versatile with your voice work. Yes, I thought it was really good, because I did think that did not sound like you.
Oh, thanks. I remember doing it in 1.5 takes and hyperventilating in my kitchen and having to sit down.
Sorry, I'm just having a problem on my screen where something that we were going to use to get the sound for this has just told me that the trial has run out. Well, that's okay, because it didn't work anyway.
It was 5 minutes.
Yes, so I remember you hyperventilating, and there are bits in where I've added some of the hyperventilation stuff as well.
Yeah.
To right. In the background. And I remember when I did it, I was thinking, I'm really unfit. I'm not well.
Right. It's so easy for me to get to this point.
Yeah. So then we after we had the basis of Cag, Lauren, and Martin as the characters, I sort of laid those down on a track. I can share my screen and show it, but it won't. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I won't be able to play it to you. I'm really sorry about that. Share screen. Here we go. No, we don't. Here we go. Yep, there we go. You're going to see just lots of images of yourself. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is Reason. This is one of the. Reason. Reason is it's a number of things. It's a digital audio workstation. I have far too many. I also use something called Live, which is Ableton's, but my favorite is Logic Pro if I'm composing music. But for sketching out either musical ideas, songs is particularly good for Reason, but also for just adding in audio. So all these files you can see I'm scrolling through here are the individual files, and all of those, if I just play you won't be able to hear, you'll be able to see it up here. This is where everything registered, so it tells me what my levels are, and everything's automated, and I essentially just layer the sound. So you've got Martin's speaking patterns there, you've got the Cag here, but there's also his effect. So essentially I just duplicate a line of the audio and then start running filters through it and start running effects. So if you can see, it says Cagliostro main, Cagliostro haunted. Same with Lauren. So you've got, where is she? There she is. Lauren during the performance, and then Lauren when she starts becoming Cag. There's also some additional whispering that I did there. So, I do.
That's it. There's going to be a credit. Additional whispering.
I'm hoping there's going to be an Oscar category at some stage for audio whispering. See, I love that, the wind. That was me going into this very microphone and then running it through lots of different filters to get a different sort of more ethereal sound. And one of the things I like is I'll come back to, stop showing now. One of the things I like in particular about working with you is I always feel like I'm done, and then you just go, yeah, can we do this? And I go, and they go, yeah, okay. But it always ends up sounding better.
Oh, well, that's very nice.
No, it's true. I think what I enjoy is that you push all of us to a kind of level of creativity where we go, yeah, we think we've got it, and you go, yeah, you have. I just wondered. What would happen if?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so I do is I purposefully will take a day
Yeah.
where it's
sleeping.
like, yeah, because sometimes I can be fussy for fussy's sake, but then sometimes with you guys,
Oh, can
you
you?
are.
I didn't know that. I did not
I
know
don't know if
that.
you know that.
That's new information to me. Year and a half.
And so there are times when I want to think like, because you guys are on your game, and so I trust you. Like I trust the end of phase 2 to write the script, give to you, you create this thing. And so whenever there's something like some other extra bit, I always think, am I trying to get my fingers on it, or do I really think this would like tweak it, make it better? And I think we always make the right decision when we think, what would the readers go nuts for?
Yeah.
And I think one of those, I was just thinking, when I was looking at that, I was thinking one of the examples was a way to further play up the idea that the Cagliostro title had passed on to Lauren was originally Cagliostro would have that haunted effect whenever he performed the spell, but then he died. And so we just had Lauren being carried out by Martin, and we came up with this idea to transfer that haunted effect to Lauren's voice. And not only did it add to the creepiness of it, but it also was, when you're not dealing with visuals, you can't see the power fly out of Cagliostro and into her. It's an audio cue to say, oh, okay. And then we even went a step further and added your voice echoing, like sort of like the remnants of Cagliostro echoing in Lauren's voice. And I think it's all the little bits and pieces like that. I mean, I think that's why you guys have responded to this, is because we obsess over the little bits.
Yeah.
There was a great short little like 7-minute documentary about Who Framed Roger Rabbit I watched the other day, about how hard it is to have live action and animation. There are all these issues with lighting, with shadows, with keeping eye contact between real and fictional characters. And they called there. I'm misquoting it, but there was a moment in Who Framed Roger Rabbit where they could have just had Bob Hoskins and Roger in a scene, but instead they randomly had Roger hit a swinging light, and so the light is going back and forth throughout the scene, and that was like 20 times more work for them, and something that most people wouldn't notice, that they had to change the shadows for Roger in every cell. It added like something like 8 layers in every frame. But they wanted to do it to see what they were capable of, to push themselves. And I feel like that's sort of what we do. And they call it something like, it's like pushing the lamp or something like that became a Disney in like, yeah, right. Where it's like we're taking it to the next level for the sake of taking it to the next level.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it does show out, and the details are the thing I get the kick out of when I hear it. When I hear it afterwards and go, oh wow, that actually. So the bit where the monster kind of emerges from the tetrahedron. Oh, that was fun. We'd been calling it a pyramid for the entire time.
Oh my god! Okay, you're giving away too much. How we're idiots.
Not a pyramid. Yeah, that was quite funny. So we can't call it that. It's not a pyramid. It's tetrahedron. Yep. Okay. But it was good save. Good save. Yeah. So I when the monster, that's just a sound effect of a lion roaring that I bought, but I bought 2 different versions and layered them so that they and played around with them so that there was never. I think one's a lion, actually, one's a gorilla, and they kind of grumble over the top of each other. I think that's a really nice sound when you layer it on with the kind of magical stuff as well. It sort of grounded in something we're familiar with, but has this otherworldly impact. But I think what's for me the bit that I like the most, or the bit that makes me feel like, oh, that works really well, is the bit where Martin has picked up Lauren and they're running and they go through the doors and the sound just gets lower and lower until eventually
my favorite.
They open the door into Grand Central Station, and that atmosphere. And it's actually really, really simple in terms of technologically, but because of where it's placed, it just works really well. It makes you feel grounded in the reality of it all. So I think I was very proud of that. I
was proud of you. And I was. I thought, oh, bless.
Welcome to the Simon and CJ Love-In, where we self-congratulate.
We have now forgotten that anyone's watching. I think you're fantastic.
Oh, I know. You're amazing.
But that was one of my favorite parts too, and it was all the little subtle things. It's sort of like when the beast kills Cagliostro, it's this, instead of sort of magical lasery sounds, it's this breath effect, this like torrent of breath and energy, and you hear it sort of take a breath and do it again. That, and like you said, I love the hallways and it getting more and more faint, and the screams fading and wondering what's happening in the room. And it all felt like doing a really cool radio play, which is awesome. How much story we can tell, and what I love about it, it plays into what we're doing, which is we're telling a story, but we want to tell 75% of a story and have our readers fill in the blanks. It's one of the reasons I was so reticent about showing the concept art for the characters, was because they have an idea of what they look like, and I didn't want to tread on that, but they wanted to see it because they felt, well, we know who we, it's sort of like seeing Harry Potter the movie. You still remember what you imagined Harry Potter looking like in the book. But yeah, that's what was so exciting about doing this in audio, was because you got to fill in what it looked like, and the room could be as big as you wanted it to be. And I think by setting the groundwork we had the blueprint so that you could understand the geography rather, of what was happening. And with Martin there to record it, and then later say, I picked her up, I ran out, we went into the terminal. And so it gave you all the sort of the map of how it all progressed.
I think it's more satisfying as well for the readers to experience it that way. I think there's something, isn't there, in storytelling, that you show, you don't tell. And this is kind of like showing at its ultimate, where we want to give you enough to guide you, but ultimately what the thing you make up in your head is always going to be better than whatever a filmmaker or someone creates on screen or in reality, I think, generally. So if we give you enough to guide you and take you somewhere, the rest should be in your head. And I think that's really powerful, and I think it sticks with you and you engage with it more.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I always feel like when you see early concept art for a video game or a movie, there's something about it that can capture your imagination that when you see the final shot just doesn't. And I think it's because we as human beings intrinsically want to fill in the blanks. It's why people get scared of the dark, is because we can imagine something far worse than if you turn the lights on and saw a monster. It's what our minds can do, the power of imagination. Oh, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I'm going somewhere.
I'm going to a deep moment. Very deep.
It's like Brandon Lockman says.
How would Brandon say that? And who that was okay.
Speaking
we should talk about that. So that was the thing I think that freaked I think all of us out when that happened. Obviously Brandon is we have two Brandons.
As a child.
We have Brandon adult and Brandon as a child. And so we played around with it, and I actually voiced all of Brandon as a child is me doing a not that great American accent. I had lots of coaching from CJ saying your R's need to be harder. Do hard R's.
Where it was like, I don't want to bother you, but that one R, if it could just
hard enough. And then playing with in Reason actually, and using lots of filters and things, you can manipulate a voice to make it sound more younger. So it just takes the octave up, So it takes a lot of the resonance up. Because we tried it with you, and because you have such a masculine voice compared to me, it didn't work. It really did. I kept playing it, and every time we did it, you kind of got this phasing that you sometimes get with digital stuff that makes it sound like, oh, that's just them manipulating it. Whereas when I did, I think also because I was kind of I was raising my voice as much as I could to make it sound authentic, and then playing with it, and that worked really well. So yeah, I ended up being a young Brandon, and you ended up being old.
Excuse me, adult Brandon.
Adult.
Well, what's so funny though is I just realized no one ever heard. Oh well, I guess so. There were those voicemail messages on the phones, but they never heard
them live.
Right, they didn't hear the final message. Only Cole did.
Yes.
Oh, and we have a way for them to hear those again, don't we? Do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah, why not? So you will hear them again, very, 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 very shortly. So part of the whole, we want this experience to be immersive and so much more than. It is a story, it is a game, but it is also an experience that you can carry around with you, I think is what I'm trying to say. So we want it to be, when you're reading something, we want you to have a soundtrack. And what we think is really lovely, and this is just the beginning of many things, is that you guys are creating your own stuff for this. So I'm absolutely blown away by all the stuff in the Itsuki world. It completely rocked our world when we saw that the first time. It's like, oh, so good. And just the sheer passion and enthusiasm is exciting. And I love the fact that there's now a Spotify playlist. I think that's brilliant. And I will be checking in on that to see how that can influence what I'm about to tell you next, because I think it will. Your taste in music, what you like, I think should, as well with the story, should influence the way that we tell the story. So one of the things we wanted to do is we wanted to think of it like, major games, major films have soundtracks. Why haven't we got a soundtrack? Oh no, we'll have a soundtrack. So being me, I thought, right, okay, I'll create a soundtrack. So that's what I've done. You've heard that there's the trailer for the Monarch Papers, there is a piece of music that I wrote, which was kind of very adventure-y, and we kind of follow that theme through. And we're going to release 4 soundtracks throughout, so 1 per phase. So we've got as a special gift for you a full MP3 album of Part 1, the Monarch Papers Part 1, Flora, which is a 15 or 16 track album. I think it's 15 with a bonus track. I'll tell you what the bonus track is in a second, of music that we felt represented parts of the story. So there's Deirdre's theme, there's Cole's music, there's pieces about Brandon. We've used the sound files from Brandon's phone messages and created music that goes with them. So that it creates another little story that hopefully when you're looking back and when you're reading the first part of rereading this adventure through the first part of the Monarch Papers, you'll have a soundtrack that goes along with it.
Yay! Soundtrack! So, yeah, I think we have been a little busy and neglected to upload it to a place where everyone could download it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, if you want to,
is that your way of telling me that you haven't done it?
I have not done it. The buck stops there. Can you, while we're taking questions, why don't you send me the zip file and I'll put it up on Amazon Web Services, and then I'll send a link to everyone before the end of the end of the hour, before the end of the.
Or what I will do. This is what,
because I uploaded it and then I deleted it.
I will scramble back through
your secret files.
Secret files that you have access to, that is right in front of you right now, and I'll just share that file again. Yeah. Oh dear. There you go.
Oh, thanks.
Wow, that was fast.
Appreciate it.
That is the second one, isn't it? Yes. It's me.
Yeah. This is the other thing that everyone at Ackley Green has to deal with. Like, can you send that to me? Well, you're looking at it. I know, but just send it to me.
Just send it to me again. Just make sure it's the right one. That's the second one.
Yep, it is. Got it.
Okay.
Okay, so we would love to have questions, and if we think of anything else, we'll immediately start talking about it. But if you guys have questions, we have Kelsey here and Oracle is here. Anybody have questions? Anybody?
Anyone?
Want to ask anything about Cagliostro, or anything while we're here? Anything having to do with audio? Simon's done music for the. I mean, keep in mind, once we're done here, I'm going to pack him up, and you'll never see him again. So,
yeah, right.
So be sure to.
He gets back into his little British box.
Yeah. Oh, we're in Slacky, right? Slack.
Yeah, you're going to Slack it.
Got it.
That's a plug for Slack, by the way. It's our favorite tool in the world.
Yeah. Tristan and Kelsey, I know you have questions, and we're not leaving here until you ask them.
Forcing these poor people to speak to him.
I'm using up all my bandwidth with this live stream, so it's taking a minute to download. But what I'll do is I'll post this in the YouTube chat, and I'll also post it on the forum, and then I'll post a link to it in a next email from me, which is going to come out next week. Okay. All right. We may not have any questions. I feel like we may have we got it all out.
We've been so thorough.
I felt like we were thorough.
It's such a shame we couldn't play the sound. Well, maybe what we'll do is we'll spend a bit of actual time focusing on how do we get that technology to work, and then we'll do a little broadcast that that we can put onto YouTube so that people can see it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think that's a wonderful idea. Is it? I'm trying to think. Was there? I thought there was something else. Anyway, so yeah, Simon, lovely seeing you as always. I'm going to post a link in the live chat so that everybody watching this can have access to it, and then I'm also going to put it on the forum. And if you have any questions after the live broadcast, Simon is now on the forum, so you can ask in the off-topic category, the Cabinet of Otherworldly Wonders. He is there at Simon AG. I just felt so professional. He's such a podcaster.
It's your NPR moment.
Yeah, exactly. Today we were brought to you by. And we'll also.
Yeah, we're looking for sponsors.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. And at some point we're planning on doing these things more regularly, where we break down a lot of things about the Monarch papers. I think when we're closer to it being done, and we have a little more distance and perspective, we'll go back and sort of break it down fragment by fragment. And interesting things that we remember, and problems and things we solved, and how it all.
Shard City.
Oh God, Shard City.
Remember Shard City.
Never forget.
Never forget.
All right, Simon. Lovely seeing you as always.
You too. Bye, guys.
Have a wonderful day. Bye. Bye.